Hey, what's going on, guys? Schwarzenegger Mads here. So I'm showing you right now the tutorial for my card trick perfect position. Love this trick, pretty much self-working. It's going to sound like a lot when I'm teaching you, this, but I urge you to watch the whole video, learn the trick, and go out because it's really simple, and I think you guys are going to like really the trick. Alright, so here's the setup for this trick, but one thing I'd like to mention is you need an even number of cards for this trick. You could have 48 cards, 46 cards, all 52, alright, but you need an even number of cards and your two jokers, alright. So, let's get into the setup. What you're going to start with is a joker, alright, that's your first card. Then any three court cards you'd like. Court cards are just jacks, queens, or kings. Doesn't matter the suit of those, alright. Next, you're going to need two twos, two threes, all the way up to kings. Doesn't matter what suit they are, just all that matters is you have two of them. So fours, fives, six, sevens, eights, nines, tens, jacks, queens, and did you guess? Yeah, there's also kings. Alright, and to top it all off, we're placing the very last joker. This is very specific. There's reasons why. This is our setup, and I'll be covering that in the rest of the trick. But let's take a peek one last time at our setup. We have a joker and just three court cards, twos, threes, all the way up to king, alright, and then our last joker. There are no aces in the beginning of this trick. Just start with two. When you have that, you put that on top of the deck, you're ready to go. If you guys watch this tutorial, or the performance, I'm sorry, you'll know the spectator now cuts off a packet of cards, and from there you go and do the trick. There is two instances which could happen at this point, and I'm going to go into both of those at this time, alright? Now, the spectator is going to come over and cut off a portion off the top of the deck. One of two things can happen. First, they can cut off an even number of cards, or they can cut off an odd number of cards. Now, I'm going to just get an example to show you very thoroughly, alright? Let's say they cut off this packet of cards. Now, right away, I can tell exactly how many cards there are by looking at the next two cards in the deck that I am currently holding. So if I take a peek at the next two cards, it's two eights, and if I add these together, that tells me they have 16 cards. And I'm not even going to bother to look because I know with our setup, this will work every time. Alright? Now, let's talk about the scenarios that you can get. There's two scenarios. They can either cut an even number of cards or an odd number of cards. If they cut off an even number of cards, you have to do one slight thing, and that's ask them to take out a joker. If it's odd, you're good to go. You just need to find your key number. I'm going to try to make this sound a little bit easier, alright? So, they just cut off their packs of cards, alright? This is how you're going to figure out how many cards they have. You're going to deal one, two cards into your hand, and then, just deal the rest of the cards into your hand as well, alright? Now, after you've done that, you ask your second spectator, to come over and cut their packet of cards. Doesn't matter how many cards they have, it really doesn't. Could be any number, alright? At this point, you say, alright, you kind of glance the bottom two cards, alright, as you're speaking, and you add them up inside your head. You say, okay, this person, spectator number one, has 16 cards. So, I need them to have 15 cards, or if you really wanted, they could have 17 cards. But you can't really add a card to their packet, so you have to take one away. And how do you do this? You simply say, spectator number one, can you shuffle up your packet? And after you're done with that, I want you to just go through and check if there's a joker, alright? And no matter what happens, they're always going to have that joker because it was on the top of the deck. Spectator number two would do this as well, and they would say, okay, I don't have any jokers. Alright, now after they give you this joker, you're going to throw it out, and you're also going to go in your pack and take out your joker, alright? So if they have an odd number, you're eliminating the jokers, alright? Now at that point, they have an odd number of cards, alright? And you're good, you're ready to find your key number. This is a very important number, and if you were to forget this, you would be in trouble. Alright, so they shuffled their cards, and if I didn't mention, I don't believe I did. If you remember, we added these three cards right here. Now, because we didn't really shuffle it that well, they weren't mixed up, and the cards themselves weren't mixed up as well. But we used court cards in the beginning, which I mentioned, so that the cards look more randomized, okay? When you see a court card here, a court card there, they won't recognize a setup, and you also want to make sure they shuffle the deck very thoroughly, and don't forget that, alright? Now, at this point, I'm going to get into how you find your key number, alright? And that's very important, alright? So let's get into that now. Alright, so let's talk about your key number. Now, at this point, you may be a little confused. What is a key number? Now, a key number is pretty much just a number you're going to have to remember for the rest of the trick, and it's going to be very significant at the end. So if you do happen to forget it, you're going to mess up the trick, alright? Now, this all revolves around the number of cards the spectator has. Now, if we remember correctly, how do we figure out the number of cards? We looked at the two bottom cards, which added up to 16. But because we had an even number, we had to take out the joker, alright? If there wasn't, if there was not a number, we would just skip that step, okay? So, at this point, they really don't have 16 cards because they took a card out. They have 15 cards inside this packet, alright? Now, here's how you find your key number. I've actually made a little sheet for you, so it's easy to figure out. So, finding your key number. Here's how you find your key number. You take the number of cards cut off, which we have 15 cards, alright? We're going to divide that by 2, alright? So I have an example. It's I use 15 cards for that exact reason. So 15 cards were cut off the top of the deck. Well, what do you know? We had 16 minus the joker's 15, alright? Now 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Now, if you read the note up here, it says always round down. So 7.5 rounded down is 7. Alright? Therefore, our key number is 7. Now, this all may seem like a lot, okay? It probably does, but really it's fast, okay? It's pretty quick to do. You see 16, you say, okay, we took a joker out, 15 divided by 2, 7.57, alright? It's a lot faster than you actually think in doing it slowly like that, alright? Now, once you have your key number, alright, you're doing this in your head pretty much throughout the trick, okay? And you're going to have them shuffle the decks up and then take a peek at their top cards, alright? So we have the 7 of diamonds and the 3 of clubs. 7 of diamonds, 3 of clubs, alright? And one thing you want them to do is remember, their spectator number 1, their spectator number 2, alright? Spectator number 1, you go, your packet goes on top of spectator number 2's. With the remainder of the deck, which was never really used, we shuffle that up as much as we'd like. We cut it in half, we add their packet in, and close it up. Now at this point, we're going to deal the packet into 2 piles, and when I'm done, I'm going to come back, and we're going to continue on, but I don't want to bore you. Alright? When you're done and complete with dealing the packet, you're going to ask them, just like in the performance, to see if their card is in this packet of cards. Alright, so you're going to lift up the packet you first dealt down. So let's pretend this was my original deck. If I dealt down this card to the left first, that's the packet I'm going to pick up. So I'm dealt down to the left first, so I'm picking up the left packet. You're going to say, spectator number 1, you picked the 7 of diamonds, correct? Would you look through here and just tell me if your card is in here? Alright, now let's pretend their card was in here. This is where our key number 7 comes into play. If their card was there, what you would do is you count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards, square up, and table cut, just like that, the cards to the bottom, alright? And that's exactly what you would do. And that's if spectator number 1's card is in the first packet, alright? Now, if it's in the second packet, what you're going to do is add 1 to your key number, alright? So you're going to say, alright, spectator number 1, your card has to be in here. And they say, well, yes it is, alright? And what you're going to do is you're going to say, alright, before we do anything else, I'm going to give them a cut. And what you're doing is you're counting off 8 cards instead of 7. So if we remember, our key number was 7, but because this is the second packet we're looking at, we're doing the number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, let me just double check. 4, 4. Alright, and you're going to give those 8 cards a cut. Alright, just like so. Now, from here, it's completely self-working. You turn over cards, and they will just magically appear in the same exact spot every single time. Alright? And let's see. When will they come? Anytime now. There they are. 7 of diamonds, 3 of clubs, just like that. always works. Now let's just recap one last time. I just want to mention this last thing once more. So, if their card was in the first packet, you do number 7, you deal the same thing. The only difference is when the card's in the second packet, or the second time you dealt down, if you dealt that time, that second, alright, then you have to add 1 to the value of your key number, okay? From here, guys, that is the trick. One thing I put an annotation in the beginning of the video, but you will need an even number of cards for this trick. Doesn't matter if you have, 48 cards, 50 cards, 52 cards, alright, as long as it's an even number. And that's why we actually took out both of the jokers. So I wanted to clarify that up before I left. This was a long tutorial. I'm hoping maybe you stuck around. I hope it was helpful. You guys learned a lot. It did take me a while to do this, mainly because I was trying to figure out if I could simplify this. There really wasn't much I could simplify. I have a second channel up now. You can click here to go subscribe to. I'm going to be doing deck reviews for the 5 of you that are still watching. Alright, so that was the trick, guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. As always, remember, I'll be back.